So in the next segment, I am thrilled to have our esteemed colleague, or my esteemed colleague, and Gartner analyst, Tiffany Bova, come join our US and Canada Partners of the Year, New Signature and ProServe IT. And they're going to do a little bit of a fireside chat around how to actually find these types of opportunities out in the marketplace and share their experiences. So please welcome to the stage Tiffany Bova, Chris Hertz, the president of New Signature, and Eric Sugar, the president of ProServe IT.
We're a national service integration partner and a Microsoft Cloud solution provider. A specific customer opportunity that we feel really exemplifies why we moved to the cloud would be the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. They had a need to move information technology out of their data center and find a way to reduce costs as a charity.
We were able to migrate hundreds of mailboxes with, a minimal impact on our service desk. And I think that's thanks to the experts like ProServe IT that have helped us make the migration very, very smooth.
When Microsoft and ProServe IT come to the table, it's a very powerful story. Working with Microsoft drives different beliefs and adoptions inside of our business and inside of our customers.
I'm Christopher Hertz. I'm the founder and president of New Signature. When we first started working with Urban Alliance, they were here in DC and they were planning on expansion.
Urban Alliance empowers under-resourced youth to aspire, work, and succeed through paid internships, formal training, and mentorship. Our main goal is to create a way that we mirror the life of work for a young person. We provide them a lot of soft skills training and prepare them for the world of work.
When we were able to move them onto the Office 365 platform, it removed a whole layer of complexity from their expansion. It allowed them to focus all their energy on programmatic outcomes.
The Microsoft Office suite that we work off of not only allows us to do our work, but it also allows us to introduce a lot of key technical concepts to the young people that we serve. The support that New Signature provides is invaluable both to our staff and to the work that we're able to do for our young people.
Well, great. Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. How are you guys doing? Been good so far? Excellent. I think that was a great demonstration of some fantastic partners. Let me start by thanking Judson and the US team for having me back again this year. It's really a pleasure to be in front of you, and we're going to spend a little time talking to some of your partners of the year. And I'd like to start with really looking at the business and how it's shifted over the past couple of years. We've seen some great examples of how the customer is shifting, but partners have obviously had to shift as well. And so, Chris, why don't I start with you, and why don't you talk through some of the things you've really had to change in your overall business since the advent of some of the new announcements that Microsoft has made?
Yeah, first I just want to give a shout out to iMason, who we just won a Canadian Impact Winning Together Award with just 2 days ago. So great work, iMason. Excellent. Our business, we've really become laser focused over the last 12 months in coming in and being able to listen to user stories, translate those to outcomes, and then really help design, deploy, and operate a unified solution that uses a modern client experience, which we think about as a modern Windows, modern Office, and modern browser, plus what we believe to be the new Microsoft software stack, which is Office 365, CRM Online, and Azure, and deliver that again as a single, beautiful experience for end users. And that's what we focused in on. And we've done that really by reinventing our business in some ways we can talk about a bit later.
Eric, what about you?
Our business has changed dramatically in the last 8 years. We just became a Microsoft partner 8 years ago. From that transition, we moved away from competitive technologies, then started to adopt the cloud. The change into the cloud really transformed everything we do. It aligned with our managed services business and helped us build a tighter, better relationship with our customers, improving their customer experience.
Well, I think that changing business overall is interesting, right? I think we tend to get very enamored by the shiny thing in the corner of this is new technology. I think what we tend to forget about is this process impact that it has in an overall business, right? Changing a business model is good, but I think the process is where you really start to get the improvement. So talk a little bit, Chris, about some of the business process improvements you had to make beyond sort of the buzzwords of what you started to invest in.
Well, and I can tell you, we just experienced how I got distracted because you had to remind me we had to come up here because I was too enthralled in the Subaru demo.
Like, we have to be on stage. He's like, oh, Really?
So, yeah, I mean, look, our processes have changed a lot. We've really, I think, redesigned our business on 3 stools. And actually, it was interesting, Tony mentioned this earlier on stage around business analysts. And so we've started with really an idea of a strategy overlay, what we think of as an experience manager, and then our subject matter experts who've always been there. And by bringing all 3 of those folks into what we think of as sort of a pod, we can deliver a better experience to our end users and to our customers. And so when we think about that strategy overlay, those are the folks who are very broad, who are going in and really looking at the user stories, building the business outcomes, being alerted to that by the engagement managers who are looking at experience and who are managing adoption. And then both of those groups are integrating with our subject matter experts who are essentially delivering the design, deploy, operate function of the actual technology. And that top layer, that's a brand new set of people that we've been able to bring into the business or grow in the business. And that's been a pretty substantial transformation. And then lastly, we've had to think about how do we deal with compensation around sales and things along those lines. I mean, so there's a lot to think about.
Well, I think there's a lot of partners in here who are small. So when you have sometimes the resources and the capital in order to make the investments of having a lot of people involved in that transformation, it's one thing.
Yeah.
But if you were to tell a small partner, you've got to make sure you do this one thing of those 5 that you just described, what would it be?
You know, I actually would start even simpler than what I just described. And I would say we all have internal use rights for software. And if we're selling experiences, which you've heard Justin talk about, the #1 way that we will do that is by using the software and solutions and services ourselves, and by having all of our employees do that. If you are talking about an experience, you know, if you've driven a Subaru and I have an Outback, then you know what that experience is like, and you can really sell it, and you can talk about it. If you haven't ever driven a Subaru, you probably aren't going to know about it, and you aren't going to really be passionate about it. And I think as partners, we should embrace the technology that we're going to be talking about and understand the experiences of how it's transformed our own business, so we can really share that with our customers. And I think that's the one thing I would do more than anything else. And I think there's so many partners who don't take advantage of that.
Eric, what about you? What kind of business process changes did you have to make? And then secondarily, right, what was the #1 thing you could give from an advice perspective beyond sort of using the technology, what would those 2 things be?
So our business processes really had to start with the change with sales. We had to move our sales team from selling big, complex data center projects into sort of faster, shorter, very rapid cloud projects. So we started with compensation. So once we knew the decision we wanted to make, we started with compensation to shift the sales team, and then we brought delivery along afterwards. If you shifted delivery first, you won't be selling the solution yet. After that, we started to layer on different people into the team. So we layered on an adoption consultant, we layered on a virtual CIO, and these different resources help the customer understand the strategy of where we want to take them.
When you change the compensation plan, I think that's a big question for many, right? We had project-based, top-line, potentially margin-driven comp plans. To now it may be consumption-based, right? We've got Microsoft sellers that are moving to consumption-based, partner programs are moving to consumption-based. Where did you find your balance between those 2 things?
Yeah, so for 2 years, we actually took a stance where we were going to pay out full compensation to our sales team, take away the risk of moving to the cloud, so take it as a business risk, not an individual's risk. When we made it not their problem, we enabled them to sell the cloud. After that, we moved to incent them where we want them to be. So change the model and say, okay, projects are now only paying out at X%. Managed services, cloud services, IP development's paying out at 3 times that. Really change how they look at their lives and what they have to do to make their money.
So both of you made changes at the sales level. So let me ask, what percentage of your sellers were able to make this transition? How about you, Chris?
Well, we were pretty lucky, and our folks were fairly dynamic. So, you know, we've had a 100% success rate with our sellers making the transition. But, you know, I'll say we also have not necessarily started from the VAR world. We were always an SI, and I think that's a little bit of a scenario that may be slightly different than some folks who might have started in that hardware software resale world first.
How about you, Eric?
Yeah, so we're also an SI. We looked at it from a service perspective. We did have one salesperson who did have to get dropped off or chose not to play a part in that role. A lot of it was education, though. So investing in the sales team, investing in the processes, teach them how to do that sale and teach them the difference. It's still solution selling, it's just the solution has changed.
Absolutely. Well, when we talk about business process, you know, it isn't just about the partner having to change their business processes. We also have to think about the customer changing their business processes. And I think for systems integrators, right, that's where you really play and add value. So from a services perspective, when a customer has to change business process, what kind of skills will these partners need to start to hire in order to have them having the right conversations with customers about changing their business process as they make these technology investments? Either one of you.
It's actually exactly what Tony and Chris mentioned. It's the business analyst. look at everything through a business lens. If you can improve your customer's business, if you can help them sell more or help them reduce costs, and you can teach them how the technology lets them do that, that's where you have a win-win situation.
And I think to add on to that, it's an engagement model, right? If you aren't engaging regularly in a cycle, and this is where I think it plays both ways. We can get recurring revenue by delivering a managed experience to our customers after we've delivered a project to them. Then we can actually be part of that conversation on a regular basis, and those engagement managers can really hear where there are problems, engage that analyst as part of that process, and then engage the SMEs as we understand that. So there really is this virtuous cycle, and it really is a transformation of saying we want to stay engaged. We don't want to come in, engage, and then disengage, wait for the customer calls and say, oh, we found a problem. We want to actually be the ones identifying where there is a pain point, where there's some friction, and being the ones to be able to understand how we can bring a solution to that, a better experience.
Well, so let's move a little bit from that and start talking about some of the things that Microsoft is starting to expose to you guys as partners. And so let's talk about the onboarding centers. Sure. I've heard some fear in the market and doubt from partners about what they think about that. And Eric, you've really used them to your advantage. Yeah. Tell us how you got there and how it's helped you.
We started looking at the onboarding center 12 months ago when it was announced, and we realized that this is going to change how we do business. And every year we analyze our projects and our profitability in our projects by phase. So as we looked at the phases, the piece that the onboarding center was taking was our least profitable phase. So it immediately became something we wanted to adopt into every one of our proposals. So we changed our selling motion again to say, here's how we get you through pilot, here's how we get you using the technology. We're going to work with Microsoft to help make the next pieces happen. If you want to engage us to manage the OBC for you, we can do that. But we'll give you the full lifecycle vision. We just aren't going to do the scheduling piece or the user migration piece.
And did it eliminate anything from your business? I mean, you had fear, right? Maybe, and you didn't understand. And so you said you were able to realize what wasn't profitable.
Yes.
And so did it eliminate things from your business?
The only thing it really eliminated from our business was utilization challenges. We were able to pull out any gaps in scheduling, really tighten up utilization and go from kind of that high 70s, mid 80s to high 80s, low 90s. What
about you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was scared. 12 months ago, I was freaking out. I remember I was in Washington, D.C., hometown, and I remember getting the news, and I was like, woo, I don't know what's going to happen. And, now 12 months later, our company has doubled in size. And I would say that we have more Office 365 businesses than we ever had before. So when we think about how has it changed or detracted from our business, I don't think it's had an impact, and I think the most recent announcements really not going to have an impact on us either. We've really embraced the message that Judson said, which is we're looking to deliver that high-value service. And for us, we think there's a lot of opportunity to go in and talk around things like governance, compliance, and security, which our customers are willing to pay a lot of money for us to come and engage. They're scared of it. It's hard for them to really grasp how to bring that to market. And that's where we really focused. It really didn't take anything away from our business. Honestly, a lot of the activities that the onboarding center has participated in, we're hand in glove working with them. And I would say that if there's something that you haven't done today, if you've heard onboarding center and you've seen it as a threat, reach out and talk with them. They're people. We've had great conversations. We've built great relationships. And
they're not holograms?
They're not. Well, gosh, if they were, that would be amazing. No, but they're not. They are real people, and you can even Skype and see them in person. And when you build that one-on-one relationship, you realize they are there to work with us. And frankly, they want our help as much as as Microsoft wants them to help us. And so I think that's the first step, is to go out there and really build a relationship with the onboarding center and realize the value they deliver.
So we've talked about the impact that a lot of these changes have had to your business. We've talked about some of the things that Microsoft has offered to you to help you guys be more effective and efficient. Let's talk a little bit about the customer for a second. When you go in front of customers and start talking about some of this new technology and offers and services and sort of the new way of thinking about things.
We don't talk about technology.
Yeah. We do.
Not with the customer.
Not with the customer.
Yeah, there we go.
Right?
All right.
But what is the customer actually asking for, right? What is the customer asking for? Like, they're not saying, I want, multi-tenant, load balance, secure. You're right. They're not asking from a technology.
No,
they're having business problems. But when you start getting underneath it, what are the things they're struggling with the most from a customer perspective? What would you say, Chris?
Look, they're struggling with the rate of change, hands down. This is a brave new world for both partners and customers, and they are looking at the rate of change today. I mean, what Scott Guthrie, I think, has rolled 150 new features in Azure in the last 12 months. I mean, that is mind-boggling. And for our customers, that is just an incredibly scary proposition in which they desperately need our help. And it's not about what features are there, it's about here are our business problems. Come to us with a solution that delivers an experience that taps into all those services in a way that they're knit together and deliver a single unified whole. And so for them, they're looking for us to be really the standard bearers and the individuals who hold knowledge and can bring that to them without them having to dig into 150 changes just in Azure and Office 365 and CRM Online and Windows and Office, right?
It's a lot. What about you, Eric? From a customer perspective, what are you hearing?
Yeah, from a customer perspective, I'll echo Chris's thought. We don't talk to them about technology. We want to know about their business. So we really overinvest in the front-end sales cycle to find out what their business does, how they do it, what's causing roadblocks in their business, what's stopping them from growing. And then if we can find a piece of the puzzle that we have in the technology that fixes that roadblock or eliminates it, then we can get to the next roadblock and just keep pulling roadblocks out of their business. If you put a business lens on it, if you can help them sell more or reduce costs, that's when you have a really powerful conversation.
Agreed.
Well, so you've got the entire group of US sub partners here.
And Canada.
North America, all in one. What would you like to give as your parting thoughts? You know, any final calls to action, or I'm sure some of them want to displace you guys up here next year, so, you know, give them some advice.
Come at us.
Oh.
Yeah, not
There we go.
Not physically.
There we go. Who's
Look,
in for replacing them next year? Who's in for
but you have to lose your hair, so think wisely.
I didn't lose my hair, Chris.
Seriously?
I got it all.
Wah, wah.
Come on.
I would just say, look, go out there and do it. I mean, look, truly, I think we see a lot. I personally can get hung up on the complexity of just all the moving parts that it takes. And I would just say, look, approach it agilely. Find that minimum viable product that you can go to market with in terms of just changing your own business. Experiment. Do A/B testing and figure out what works for you.
How about you, Eric?
Pick something, pick one thing, try it out. Be okay to fail, make mistakes, but adopt the cloud. Get in, use it yourself. If you're not using it, that's definitely a first step.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, great. Well, let's give a round of applause for your Partners of the Year. And thank you guys for spending a little time. I'm going to turn it back over to Judson, and we're going to head off stage.
And by
Awesome.
the way,
Oh, there you
Thank
are.
you.
Yes, absolutely.
Judson
Thank
didn't
you.
give us any
Thanks,
customers or demos.
Yes. We got
Well,
the short
you
end
know,
of the stick.
You're the partners.
All right, well, thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, Eric. Nice job. Nicely well done. Good.